Drum roll, please. The 21-day Daniel fast. Woo! And at first I thought I was okay with that. And then I realized I wasn't. And there was times during this fast where I was actually very sad and I missed him. I missed him a lot, and I realized I wasn't ready for that answer. I wasn't ready for God to answer me that rapidly and just take him out of my life. Like, at this point, I'm going to stop saying what I don't want, because clearly everything I don't want, God is telling me to do. Hello. Welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, welcome to my channel. This is a channel on surviving your 20s as a Christian. Again, if you have not seen any of my other videos, it is not basically surviving Christianity. It is about surviving peer pressure, temptations of this world, all the craziness of this world, in your 20s. And I wanted to bring you guys on this journey with me as I go through my walk with Christ, my ups and my downs, the things that I deal with, as a way to kind of relate to anybody who is on the same level as me, or even as a beginner, or as a lukewarm Christian, or even somebody who's even at an expert level, where we can all kind of just come together as a community to relate with one another and to discuss things. So today is a big video for me. Like, oh my gosh, it's like a long time coming. I feel like I've always watched these kind of videos from other people, and I've never tried it myself until I felt the need to actually step out on faith and do something more drastic than my 3-day fasting, my 7-day fasting. So I felt that I was being led into actually trying the, drum roll please, the 21-day Daniel fast. I finally completed it. I finally done. Can I get a hand clap, please? And I only say that because it was something that was kind of like challenging for me. I've never done something like this before. I've never done a fast this long. Like I said previously, I only done a fast for like 3 days, maybe a week, and it's always been something where it's like a fast from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. It's never been something where it's like something consistent for a long period of time. So I only give myself a hand clap because it's like, wow, it's my first time doing something that major and really making that huge sacrifice, unto God, So let's get into what the Daniel fast is, how I went, how my experience was, some do's and some don'ts of not to do while you're fasting, because I kind of made some mistakes. Not a lot, nothing too drastic or bad, but a little bit, so don't be like me when we get to that segment. And then just like some meals that I've done, some ways that you can, scope your scripture. So let's get into it. Let's talk about it. So the first thing I wanted to talk about was, what is a Daniel fast? So maybe if you don't know, some people do, some people don't, because even for me, walking into this fast, I knew about this fast, but I didn't really know about like the book of Daniel, and I didn't really know his experience with the fast and all these things like that. Actually, during this fast, it was the first time, and I'm 25 years old, I'm a little ashamed to say that, but it was my first time even reading the book of Daniel, which is like, but I mean, better late than never, honestly. So, and I found so many like connections, and so like I actually think Daniel's a pretty cool person now. Not that I didn't think he was before, but I'm like, wow, Daniel, I actually admire you, and I admire like your journey. Like, you know, it's pretty cool. So, and I kind of found myself, you know, through kind of relating a little bit to Daniel, because I felt like he received dreams and visions, and I feel like the way I hear from God is through dreams. So I always kind of like related to him on that, like, okay. So what is a Daniel fast? So a Daniel fast is a specific, very constrictive diet over the course of 3 weeks or 21 days. It is a diet where you avoid meat, you avoid sugars, any alcohol, you avoid any flour, you avoid any yeast or leaven that's in any foods, you avoid any desserts, no candy, and those are basically the basics. And what I even learned too, because I made the mistake thinking it was like some vegan diet when it's not. I thought I could eat eggs when I first tried this for like a week. No like animal products like that, no eggs. And also too, you may think that because something, again, I thought I would look at things that were vegan and I'm like, okay, I can eat this. No, make sure you look at the ingredients and the added sugars, okay? I feel like because of this diet now, I'm always gonna be looking at added sugars now because they do make a difference. They are added sugars into it. So making sure you're not eating something that has a lot of added sugars in it. And also, again, look at the ingredients and what's in it. So you may go to that aisle in the grocery store that's for vegan, nutritious like stuff, and there are some things in there that you're able to eat. Like I was at least able to eat seaweed in that aisle. Like that was probably the one thing I could be able to pick out of that aisle. But you know, just being careful that you look in there and it doesn't say like yeast in the ingredients, or you know, things that you're not supposed to be able to eat in the ingredients. So definitely being mindful of that. So that is the restriction in your diet over the course of 21 days. So let's get into where this diet or this fast, was originated. So as I mentioned before, and it's in the name of this fast, it is the Daniel fast, and it originated from the book of Daniel on a man named Daniel. So it's literally the namesake. So in the book, which is originated from Daniel 10 verse 2 to 3, I do highly recommend reading the book of Daniel. And if you haven't before and you are led to do this fast, definitely make it a part of your Bible plan, whether you want to read it beforehand to get you prepared for it, or even during your fast as well. Definitely make it a part of your Bible plan. I thought it was a very, very good way, or a good thing to even read during one of my morning devotions. So the specific place in Daniel that it talks about the Daniel fast is Daniel 10 verse 2 to 3, where Daniel talks about how he had nothing pleasurable, which just means like meat and alcohol, no wine, to his mouth during the 21 days, because he was hoping to receive an answer from God that he was looking for. And also too, if you go more down into Daniel 10, you'll see in Daniel in verses 10 through 14, you will see when he does get a vision of an angel who encounters him at a river, who talks about at the time where he first was seeking his answer at the beginning of his fast, God already gave him the answer, but this angel is wrestling against the king of Persia for 3 whole weeks. 3 whole weeks, guys. This angel was wrestling with a principality, a king of Persia. It was trying to stop him from getting to Daniel to give him his answer. So Daniel was waiting, like wondering probably, where is this answer? God, why are you not answering me? And the whole time God answered. It was just, the answer was just being held in the spiritual realm. So in that verse, talks about Daniel's vision of a man telling him what happened, what was a delay, and how the Archangel Michael had to help him to fight off the King of Persia to be able to deliver the message, and how he finally got to deliver the meaning of Daniel's vision for his people and all that stuff. So, like I said, I highly, highly recommend for you to be able to read Daniel and for you to be able to spend that time with God, to have God interpret, give you new meaning and new revelations and reading this book. It was pretty cool to be able to see, and even as I was reading it, just being able to put different connections together. Like, I honestly did not know that the 3 Hebrew boys were even in connection with Daniel. The 3 Hebrew boys who went through the fire and didn't get burned and everything, I did not know that they was connected with Daniel. I did not know that they even went through some of the a little bit of this fast with Daniel. Of course, again, a little ashamed to even say that. I thought there were like 2 separate stories, 2 separate entities, 2 different books in the Bible, but no, they are actually all together. And I found that to be really cool to even find that out and to be able to put connections that I did learn from, like, Sunday school, back to this and to be also to relearn another Sunday school lesson of Daniel in the lion's den, to be able to relearn that Sunday school lesson in my adulthood now and to be able to see the context before why he was thrown. I don't think I ever learned that as a kid, why he was thrown into the lion's den and how he was saved and all these things. So it was great to just kind of relearn that and rehash that out. So that was pretty good. So let's go into my personal experience with my Daniel fast. Not gonna lie, and I would require you, again, if you are new to doing something like this, if you are truly new to fasting or new to doing this diet, give yourself grace. That is one thing, if I could tell you, give yourself grace, because it's something that's new, especially because you're kind of starting kind of cold turkey a little bit. And if you can, honestly, prep your body first. For someone like me who does drink caffeine, because I am a nurse and those 12 hours are very, very grueling, I need my coffee. Okay, so I think it is beneficial to kind of prepare your body and start to kind of wean yourself off from coffee as you're getting prepared for this type of fast, because I did not. And when I tell you, okay, and I bind up this word anyway, but I cannot find another word to even describe how I was feeling within the first week of my fasting with no caffeine, doing 12 hours at work, and just running myself ragged at work. I felt like I was probably dying. I was just I am so tired. This is not it. So give yourself grace if you ever find yourself struggling during the first week of doing this type of fast. It is not easy. You are literally training your body to have to be on more healthier foods, because you're taking yourself away from pleasurable food, which are not really that good for us anyway. Some of them are a little bit unhealthy. So you're kind of your body's not used to that, and your body is kind of also you're removing all those toxins and stuff from all that food. It's not an easy progression, not an easy transition, I guess. So have grace for yourself in the first week, because I definitely felt like I was struggling. And of course, during the first week, that's when my job wants to have all this bunch of food out on the table in front of me. These scrumptious smelling, delicious chicken wings and salad and all these things. They never done that before. But of course, on my fast, they want to have all this food out. And I was highly, highly, highly upset, okay? Highly upset. And I was just like, what? And I even kind of took some little bit of journaling videos during my fast. So I will definitely insert that clip of that video of me complaining about having this food in front of me as I eat my squash and as I eat my oven baked squash and my Impossible burger, the fake meat, I guess. I felt so down and out. Down and out. I will insert that clip. Guys, never before. We normally have free food Fridays, but they're like these nasty sandwiches, leftovers. Never before have we ever had this. Chicken wings, macaroni, cornbread, salad. And I'm just sitting here just eating my seaweed. And my squash. Yeah, because that's Daniel fast for you. Another thing I did during my Daniel fast, my experience, was it was kind of a roller coaster of emotions. Very much roller coaster emotions. So I don't know if a lot of people know, but like when you're fasting, it kind of like evokes a lot of things out of you. A lot of things that you may not have known what was in you. Even a lot of spiritual things too that can come out. I saw a lot of like spirit of rage kind of coming out of me that I did not know I even had in me during this fast. And I really had to pray against that, And I realized too, it was just like a high and a low of a lot of emotions. And there was one time, I believe it was during my second week of this fast, where I yelled at God out of frustration. I raised my voice at God. You don't do that. I felt like you don't do that. Because we kind of look at God as like our best friend. He's our father. He's our spiritual father. You never dare raise your voice at your earthly father. So why would you do that to your spiritual father? Like, what? Blasphemous. Awful. Despicable. Preposterous. Literally. That's how I felt with doing that. I felt so bad, but it came down, confession time, it came down to one night where I just felt so fed up with God because I had all these prayer requests, on my list, and I was asking God for a lot of things, and I felt like I wasn't hearing from him, or he wasn't really replying to me. I felt like there was a dream that I had that I needed clarification from, because I wanted to make sure, like, is this a warning, God, or is this from the devil? Like, what's going on? There's a specific weird dream that I had gotten an interpretation from, but I also needed more clarification for. And he wasn't answering for that. I also felt like I was doing a lot of sacrificing and forgive me, this is kind of an ungrateful moment. Again, I felt like this fast really brought out a lot, but I kind of felt like, Lord, I'm doing all this sacrificing in your name, but you can't even answer back one question. Like, I felt like, I give and I give financially. I make sure I'm faithful in my tithes. I do all these other things financially. I even in this time, which I'll get more into this situation in my do's and my don'ts section. But I was talking to a guy during my fast. Again, ladies, don't do that. Even men, don't do that. We're gonna get into that though. But I was talking to a guy and I really liked him, but I had to let him go because he wasn't a man of God. The man of God that I was looking for. Let me rephrase myself, And I felt like, God, I sacrificed him for you, because I know you don't want me being with him, and I sacrificed money, I sacrificed all these things, and you can't even answer one question, you can't even get back to me on this and that. Like, I was so upset in my car. And afterwards, obviously, I apologized to God, but I had to kind of reel myself back. I'm like, Stacey, who do you think you are? Who do you think you are? First and foremost, your time is not God's time. So you may think you need an answer now, but maybe he's not ready to give you that answer just yet. And maybe you just need to be more still and patient and just wait on it. Just keep spending time with him. You'll hear from him. Like, trust me, you'll hear from him. And I had to apologize to God. Like, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry for, even raising my voice at you, So it was a lot of like ups and downs in my fast, a lot of like frustration, some anger, then there was some happy times, some grateful times, humility times. Like it was a lot, and allow yourself to definitely feel all those emotions. Pray about it, journal it, which is another thing I'm going to talk about that I did, but allow yourself to feel all those emotions. Please do. Another two objectives that I made two goals that I did during this Daniel fast was 1, waking up early, and 2, journaling every single day for the whole 21 days of fasting. So the first one, waking up early. Well, as I kept realizing or even reading, it is one of the Christian woman duties to wake up early. And I felt like that was something that I always struggled with because I always felt like I was a night owl. I always go to bed very, very late. I just feel like I'm more productive at nighttime. I'm never really that tired. I hated waking up in the mornings. Please ask anybody. Please ask my coworkers. Anybody. Like, I hate waking up early in the morning. Like, do not talk to me before 9 o'clock. Before I have my coffee, do not ever talk to me in the morning. That was how I used to be, okay? But God had to really like deliver me from that, because that's kind of like laziness and oversleeping, and that's not of God, So I made it a habit that anytime I had work, I wake up at 5 in the morning, and on the times that I didn't have work, I would at least give myself some time to wake up between 6:30 a.m. to 7 a.m. Now, was I successful 100% of the time? No. Especially on the days that I didn't have work, because again, sometimes I would be so busy doing things after work on the days that I came home from work that I would go to bed late. I kind of didn't realize that I need to have that balance of, if you're going to wake up early, you need to go to bed earlier as well. And again, I had to give myself grace because this is something that's new to me as well. I don't really wake up. Again, I'm not a morning person. I'm more of a night owl. This is not like me. So I really had to give myself a lot of grace. But at least I was successful on the days that I had work, because of course I had to get up anyways to like get ready and everything. And the routine that I would have every morning was to make sure to spend 1 hour with God. I'd put on some little instrumental music that my friend did send me, shout out to him, and I would put on the instrumental Christian music, have it in the background, put my phone on do not disturb, put all devices on do not disturb. I would read my little daily bread devotional, and I would journal about how I'm feeling this morning, any type of dreams that I may have had, any type of visions that I may have had, anything that has happened, any testimonies, anything of that nature, just anything. It was just like my letter to God on what's going on this day. And then afterwards, I would pray, and I'd make sure to pray on one of my prayer requests, 1 out of 7 prayer requests. Like I would pray on each of the 7 that I wrote down, like one day at a time. And that was my routine each and every morning. So I did journal, which is something that I do recommend you doing. I do develop a little key that you can kind of see here. I know it's not all that focused. There we go. And I did write that key. And yeah, I literally, again, you probably can't really see some of these writings and stuff, but I did literally write, like, that was day 5, that was 6, and literally wrote all the way up until day 21. And honestly, I wrote literally everything, and everything was in different colors. Like, one was about like a vision, one was about dreams. All black writings was just like regular updates and regular like things that I was feeling. But I made sure to journal everything out because I really just wanted to just document how I was feeling, all that I was going through, all that was being delivered from me, and all the things that God was, talking to me about through this fast. So I do encourage you, if you are gonna do this fast and maybe any other fast or so, document these things. Document these things. It's helpful to write some stuff down because of course we may not remember certain things. So make sure you do have a type of Bible, a type of journal or so that you can be able to write down all your things, all your dreams, your visions, your fears, your regular things, your confessions, your everything. Be transparent, and also be transparent in prayer with Christ as well. So that was what I did, which does tie into the second thing that I mentioned, the second objective, which was journaling as well. I'm not really somebody who journals a lot because sometimes my hands can get very cramped. I do like to write, but when it comes to like my emotions and my feelings, sometimes I really don't like to write about those type of things because I've kind of really trained myself to not be an emotional type of girl. So I don't really like to give light to my emotions. Ask my friends. But I'm being delivered out of that. But I really challenged myself to just make sure I was writing every day, and I feel like it was really helpful because anything that happens now, I'm able to be like, wait, when did I write that down? When did I go back? And I'm able to at least go back and be like, oh my gosh, I wrote this here and there, and this is what God did for me, and like all these things, like, you know. So it was pretty cool to be able to, you know, do that. So I was at least successful in journaling every day and all that stuff. So that was great. So I did have, for 1 week, I did have like some baked squash, and I did put salt on there to make it a little more flavorful. Seasonings and salt are your best friends. To definitely make a fast or diet on this fast that can seem a little bland, you know, a little more flavorful, you know. So I did have for, you know, lunch roasted like, you know, squash and some Impossible like baked patty type of thing. And for dinner I had salad, and that salad always included apples, walnuts. It also included sometimes chickpeas for my protein, and then I would have like vinaigrette oil that's like drizzled over it as my dressing, because you also want to be careful with some of the dressings that you do have, because it can be a little fattening. So salad was also my best friend. I am a big fan of salads. I crave salads all the time, so that was very easy for me, but I know for some it can be a little hard. For breakfast, I had regular oats. Like, you can be able to go into the store and just not pick up those flavored, you know, I don't know what you call them, like those flavored oat cups. Those, not those ones, but just regular like 1 minute oat canisters. But I cooked that, and I didn't have any sugar in it at all. I just made it plain, and I was able to use unsweetened almond milk in it, which is a, you know, basically a derivative of like dairy milks. I don't think I got to mention that earlier, but yes, no dairy products as well during this fast too. So it was like a derivative of that. I was able to use unsweetened almond milk in there and no sugar whatsoever. So it was very bland, but I was able to kind of sweeten it with banana. So I was able to like cut up some bananas and have some of that. And then I would also have fruits on the side too, like lots and lots and lots of fruit. And then just drinking a lot of water throughout my fast. The second week, I did kind of have like a fake Chipotle bowl basically, where I had brown rice, and I was able to cook up some bell peppers, and then I was cut up some onions in there, black beans, tomatoes I was able to put in there. So I kind of had like a fake like Chipotle bowl without the meat, without any cheese or anything like that. So I was able to do that for 1 week as well. And then again, salad was my best friend for like dinner afterwards too. There are a lot of recipes out there that you could definitely look up. I do regret not trying some of them because they actually looked so good. Like there was one that was like, it was like a stuffed bell peppers, and I wish I had tried that recipe, but maybe next time, or even like now I can still try it, but I wish I did that to bring more variety. But there's a lot that you can definitely do on this. I've tried tofu as well. I did basically like a poke bowl, but I did tofu in it with lettuce, tomato, mangoes in there, cucumbers, jalapenos. What else did I do? That was basically it. I did like a poke bowl as well. So yeah, there's some variety that you can do, at least some creativity that you can definitely do with your Daniel fast. So those are my meals during it as well. So let's get into the do's and don'ts. Some of the do's. Some of the do's. Of course, prepare for this fast. Definitely do your research, because like I mentioned earlier, when I did this beforehand for like a week, I made some mistakes because I did not do my research on what you could and could not eat. And there's still some like questionable questions that I had during this fast that I definitely had to look up. Like, can I have this on my fast? Like, there was still some, but not a lot. Like, I felt a lot more prepared this time around than last time, where I had eggs on my last time that I had Daniel fast, and I didn't even know that was not a part of the diet. So definitely do your research. 2, if you can, try to set up like a scripture plan. For me, I was lucky enough to have like the daily bread. So I don't know if you have that booklet, but I was able to at least have that for my morning devotions to go through, because I normally read that anyways. And then because I knew I never read the book of Daniel, that was one of my things. I would read a chapter a day. And then also too, I knew that like there were certain things I was going through during my fast. So I would definitely read scriptures that were pertaining to those things. There were times where I did feel a little bit fearful. I would read scriptures on that. There were times where I was lacking my faith. I would read scriptures on that. There were times where I felt like I was lacking in trust towards God. I would read scriptures on that. So there were certain feelings that I would feel during this fast that I would just read scriptures on. And another thing that's very helpful too is the Bible app. That is an app I for sure can like pledge upon. I love that app for real, okay? Love it. So please, if you don't have that download already, please look up the Bible app, because it offers so much more than just reading the Bible. It gives you certain plans towards certain things. Like again, if I'm struggling with trust, I can look up Bible plans on trust, and it gives you varying like days of like devotionals and Bible scriptures to go with it. And it's such a great way to just like learn the Bible more and more and spend that time with God. So definitely do that. And it gives you structured plans already, where you don't have to like do as much work or anything of that nature, Another do that I would do, like I said, is journaling. Journaling helps. Journaling is a wonderful tool to be able to just write down your feelings and all that you are going through and all that you're experiencing during this fast. There can be a lot of spiritual things, things that you may hear from God or may see from God. It's very vital to definitely write it down. Another do that I would say is to make sure that you are very careful with the things that are going into your ears, your ear gates and your eye gates as well during this fast. Definitely be mindful of the things that you're watching and the music that you're listening to. For the entire time that I was on this fast, I mainly watched sermons or anything that just dealt with Christ. I, listened to a lot of gospel music, and that was just nonstop, just gospel music. You just want to be careful, because when you're on a fast, it's kind of like a vulnerable time for you spiritually, and you just want to be careful of the things that you allow access into you. And the same thing I have to emphasize, be careful with just like certain people that you have around you or certain friends. During this fast, of course, I could not tell them, because you should be, careful of, and the Bible does talk about this, of being private with your fast as well. The Bible does say not to proclaim your fast to people and look miserable with it. I'll put the Bible verse up on the screen. But because I couldn't tell my friends, there were definitely times where I had to cut down on hangouts with my friends. And I mean, yes, it worked out too anyways, because I was trying to save money this month anyway. But I just knew that, some of the discussion that would take place, in that, I had to be very mindful of, So, especially on a fast. So I just have to be just very mindful of some of the topics. Not that there were anything horrible topics, don't get me wrong, of course not. But, you know, it's just topics that I just know I had to be very, very careful of being on a fast, because maybe it would be topics that could lead into other things that I probably should not be talking about on a fast as well. So now this video is out there, they may find out anyway. Sorry guys, love you. I can now hang out with y'all now. But just on that fast, you know, just I couldn't. So just being careful of just even the company that you have around you. And that could be for both friends and families and loved ones. Doesn't matter. You know, if anybody starts going into gossiping, you need to remove yourself. Anybody that's going into topics of sex, remove yourself. Anybody that's going into any topics that are just inappropriate that you don't need to be talking about, especially on a fast, remove yourself. Don't even bother. Like, don't put yourself in a situation, okay? So that is another do of just being careful of what you are taking in as well. Another do, even though I just said like be careful of just like saying these things, saying anything about your fast to people, I would encourage, especially if you're like new to something like this, encourage doing this with a friend. If you have a trusted friend who's on the same path as you, do it together. I had a friend, shout out to Anaya, love her very much. I had a friend, Anaya, who I did this fast with. And it was so helpful to be able to talk to her about certain things that God released me to be able to tell her about, you know, tell her to. And it was helpful to have her encouragement on this walk with me, especially in times where I felt like not really giving up, but like it was just hard to just like keep that discipline. It was kind of hard sometimes, not gonna lie to you. My flesh definitely wanted a bite of that chicken wing that day at work. But it was nice to just be able to call her up on my lunch break and to be able to be like, Anaya, girl, there is all this delicious food in front of me and I cannot have one bit of it. I cannot. And she'd be like, yeah, girl, don't. You better eat your food. Eat your food that you brought with you. And I would be like, you're right. You're so right. And it was nice just having that person to be able to kind of just like speak into me and to be able to encourage me. Not that I don't have that self-discipline on my own, but it's nice to have that encouragement as well. So that is something that I would also encourage you to, that if you have just one friend, not telling you to do it with a group of friends, I mean, you could if you want to, but you know, if there's something for you, if you just have one friend to just do it with, totally do it. So let's get into the don'ts. So I'm sure you guys want to hear about this guy. So literally, and I probably should have seen that, you know, this was definitely like a huge don't with just the timing of when he came into my life again. I should have realized it, but I didn't. So at the beginning of my fast, I started talking to a guy, and at first it was definitely just friendship and just getting to know each other. But then we both started to realize that we definitely were liking each other, and there was definitely feelings that were starting to become involved. However, I was starting to realize now that I'm on a different path, I'm starting to look at men in a different lens now, and I was starting to realize that he wasn't really following the qualities of a man of God that I would want in my man of God that God has for me. And that's a huge red flag. And even though I was frustrated because I'm like, oh my goodness, he's this, and he could cook, and he could dress good, and he's so handsome, and he's this, and he's that. Like, I was hurting. I was like, no, but he's not that strong in Christ as I would like him to be. And this is only my personal like conviction and my personal walk with Christ and what I want to see in my man, you know? And it was just like red flags were blaring off. Normally in the past I would ignore those red flags, but now my senses were very heightened. I was like, nah, I cannot. And there was a lot of flirting involved, which is, again, that's a big no-no. If you're going through a fast, again, where you're trying to be vulnerable, it's really not the time to be flirting with anybody new. If you are married, of course, do what you gotta do. You're married, whatever. But if you are fasting, it's not the time. That is not the time to be flirting with anybody new of interest. And if they cannot understand that you probably can't talk to them as much, you know, obviously don't really reveal the reason why, because you need to be private about your fast. But if they cannot understand that you need to restrict yourself a little bit with them, then they're not the person for you. Not that he wasn't, but I'm just saying, in general, that's not the person for you, you know? So there was definitely some flirting involved, and of course he didn't know that I was even on a fast, and I was definitely wrong for that too. But I just enjoyed having somebody to talk to, and enjoyed just all the laughs and how much we related and how much we were so similar that I just like let it go. But again, this is why sometimes it's helpful to just have that friend, because I did call up Anaya and I was so mad. I was so mad. I'm like, why is another guy who does not work out because he doesn't have that one thing? He doesn't have that one thing. And she had to be like, Stacey, that one thing is very important. That's a very important thing. you think that's a small one thing? No, that's a big thing, Stacey. Okay. And I was just like, you're right. You're very right. And she's like, you need to let it go. You need to let that one go. And I was like, but I don't want to let it go. I don't want to let it go. And she's like, no, you need to let it go. So, I did something that I didn't normally ever do. I actually asked God if he needed to be in my life, whether as a significant other. Actually, I took that part out because I knew he wasn't supposed to be a significant other. I actually asked God if he needed to be in my life as just a friend. And if not, remove him. And the way that God weirdly and rapidly worked that out, I was like, okay, God, all right, I got the message, fine. And he's gone. Like this, rapidly removed. And I was like, okay. And at first I thought I was okay with that. And then I realized I wasn't. And there was times during this fast where I was actually very sad, and I missed him. I missed him a lot, and I realized I wasn't ready for that answer. I wasn't ready for God to answer me that rapidly and just take him out of my life like that. It was extremely hurtful. And but I also understood that it was for protection. I also understood that a lot. So it was fine, God, it's fine. It's okay. So that is a big don't, though. That is a big no-no. Do not be like me and do that, okay? No. They should understand. Please leave all that flirting and stuff and getting to know each other until after your fast. This fast, any fast you're doing is supposed to be just you and God. That's your only relationship. It just be you and God here, okay? So that is a big don't. And another one of my don'ts that I did have was basically just being careful going out again with people. I only went on one hangout during this fast, but that was already planned because it was kind of like a late Secret Santa with coworkers. And they were definitely wondering why I wasn't partaking in eating with them. But I just had to let them know, like, I'm just doing a certain diet with my friend. That's it. Like, I didn't tell them that it was a fast. I just said I'm just doing a diet with my friend right now, and that was it. So just instead of putting yourself in that predicament again, just try not to hang out with people during your fast, so you're not in that space to have to reveal to them why you can't eat certain things or whatever, or talk in manners about certain things. So that is another don't. So yes, so basically that was my experience with Daniel fast, basically in a whole nutshell. So let's talk about some testimonies that I did experience during this fast. So, some testimonies that I did have, and it was a little bit during this, some testimonies and confirmations. So the first confirmation that I had, which I have explained or even said in my first video, was my confirmation to do YouTube. At this point, I'm going to stop saying what I don't want, because clearly everything I don't want, God is telling me to do. I was scared to do YouTube. I am terrified. I don't want to put myself out here and get hurt or get disappointed. Oh my gosh, I don't want to put myself out there like that. But it was just a huge, just clarity that God really brought to me as I was praying. And it was definitely just very clear that he's like, no, I need you on YouTube. I need you to be the one to tell your story. I need you to talk about just all that you be going through, okay? Your story, your whole storybook of life, and all that you're still going through. I need you to tell it, okay? Stop being afraid and go. So that was my first confirmation. Another testimony that I had, which is very kind of small, but these two were kind of like small, but they're big to me. But during this time, I kind of was struggling a little bit financially. There was some stuff that's been going on as well. And one of my little testimonies was even my friend Anaya. She literally thought about me. She's literally one of the sweetest beings in my life right now. And she thought about me because she was going grocery shopping and she wanted to pick me up something to eat. And I was like, you were literally the sweetest person, because it was something that I needed. I didn't really have money to be able to get the materials that I needed for a Daniel fast. So she was so sweet to do something like that. And even my other friend Tasha, shout out to her as well. She also knew a little bit about my financial struggle. And she even listened to the instruction of God to be able to sow into me, which was so sweet and so needed and so on time. And it was just, I thank God. He's very amazing for that. So that was 2 testimonies and a confirmation. So did all my prayers get answered? At this point in time, no. At this point in time, out of 7 prayers, about 1.5 got answered. And it's not really a bad thing. Maybe even actually 2, fully 2, maybe 2.5. It's not really a bad thing because about 3 of them, can't really be answered. They just have to be done by God. So it's not really like a bad thing, and God will answer in His perfect time. Sometimes things are not answered right there and then. Some are answered within your fast, some are answered after your fast, and some are answered, time later. So, I hope to be able to share another, video of part 2 of like testimonies that I have gotten from Daniel Fast and how it has really changed my life. But besides that, I can even do another short video of just how Daniel Fast has really structured me spiritually as a person, how it's really changed me. So I don't make this video too long. But yeah, like I'm just, praying to God, about that and stuff. So that is that. And I think I will include in that other video signs of if you're being called into a fast, because I don't want to make this video too long. But all in all, that was my experience and my stuff with Daniel Fast. And now it is your turn. I do want to hear, if you have done a Daniel Fast, please comment down below, how was your experience, some of the testimonies that you have done, and some of even the trials and tribulations that you probably went through, like the frustrations that you went through during your fast. So I would love to hear about it. Let's comment and talk down below. Please let me know. Please subscribe and hit that notification bell if you would like to stay on this path with me, to listen to my walk with God and relate and connect with me and all that things. So until next time, I will see you guys.